Gentlemen, it's so good to have you guys here in our studio. So welcome.
Thank you.
And I think, Christian, it's your first time in Montreal. So welcome to Montreal. That's really cool. And you picked the perfect time in the season to come because I feel bad for the people that come in January and it's just like the worst. Anyways, you're from Michigan anyways. So
yeah, we get our own frigid winters over in Detroit. So I understand the pain.
Yeah, there you go. So we have Monte with us.
Hi,
and we have Christian. Before we get started, how about we kick it off and Monte give us, and we'll start with Monte, but kind of give us a little bit of your background in terms of where you guys come from and what you guys do at BirdDog.
Yeah, sure. So Monte Bennett, I'm the VP of Sales for the Americas channel. I cover everything from Canada to Chile. Right. So of course, North America is 95% of the revenue that we bring in for that market anyway. But, I've been with BirdDog for about 4 years. Come from, the AV industry for the last going on almost 30 years and so forth. BirdDog was kind of a change of pace for me because we're just as heavy in the production and broadcast space as we are in the pro AV kind of space. So that was kind of a little bit of a change, but I've worked distribution and, reseller management for decades at this point. So
nice.
Always in the AV or sometimes in a different vertical?
Always in the AV type of space, except for very early on, back in college working retail, consumer electronics retail type stuff at that point. But yeah.
I feel like that's how it all starts. It always starts like that.
It does.
A lot of people started in a retail shop, I did.
I did too. Yeah. So. How about you, Christian?
Yeah, so I'm Christian Frink. I'm a product manager over at BirdDog, and I also got started in consumer retail sales. That's really my background. Everything from renting cars to selling headphones and TVs. So. And then I really cut my teeth at BirdDog, starting in the support side of things and then helping the team out there and building up to the product management where I'm at now. And just like Monte, I think it's going to be 4 years this summer, which is,
wow.
I don't know what time is anymore.
Time flies when you're having fun, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. With so nice products. Maybe a question for both. I can chime in, but we really see the IP, basically the IP formats, prevalence of all the IP formats, and we always talk about this on this show. Maybe your take on what makes IP video or IP everything over IP so popular. Mm-hmm. Your take on this?
Yeah, I think it's really the flexibility that it gives, because there's so many different flavors of like video over IP, but there's really a flavor for whatever you want to do or whatever your preference is. So you can do whatever you want, no matter what your workflow is. There's a video over IP that can do it.
True that.
Yeah,
true that.
That makes sense.
And while we're at it, talking about video over IP. There's different formats. Obviously, all the BirdDog line is NDI, and most of them are PoE, pretty much all of them. Can you just explain a little bit the difference between some of the formats we hear about very often these days? In the production in general, something that comes to mind is SRT, and obviously SDI, because still to this day, some of your projects have SDI on them. Maybe you can just explain a little bit the difference between those different formats.
Yeah,
for the benefit of our listeners.
Yeah.
To be frank, like I'm not super technical on the backside of like the SRT end, but I honestly, it's the format I see trending like the most. I see more people using SRT, and it comes up more. And I think a lot of it becomes the security aspect of it and being able to encrypt the video. So no matter like if it's a corporate or if it's you just want a closed house production, a lot of people are really valuing that encryption, and being able to lock the stream down is becoming a higher value in the world that we live in now.
Okay,
that's very cool.
Okay,
are you seeing like are you seeing a big push in, for instance, NDI in specific verticals more than others than you usually? I mean, on my side, I would say systems. I'm more of a systems guy, and I'm hearing a little bit more about NDI now bleeding in. I'm hearing it a lot about it on the Pro AV side and the broadcast, but now I'm hearing it on the systems. But on your end, what do you guys? Is there a specific vertical?
I think that from the discussions that I have and that my team has with the integrators in particular that are out there, right? Going back to what Christian said about flexibility, NDI is just, you don't have to be an NDI expert the way you did, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, right? There's a lot of the community of NDI now that really do work well together. Mm-hmm. You can buy different brands of a camera or converter. You can use different software packages, to kind of put it all together, different switch brands, whatever it might be. And everyone's kind of figured out that there's a certain level of compatibility that has to work there.
Yeah.
Right. So once you kind of get past that initial hurdle of understanding, the network side of things and how to set it up and really kind of what the best practices are, it's not really that difficult. Right. And then it's just expandable, right? Yeah. The flexibility is there. We still do, and to your point, Hugo, we still see a lot of like SDI workflows, HDMI workflows, stuff of that nature, especially for smaller kind of closed loop type of productions, podcasting, small corporate production type stuff where, just a few people are going to be sitting around a table chatting and stuff like that because of other brands of product that still have HDMI switching or SDI switching and so forth. Yeah. We're not alienating any of that. Like we still belong there the same way. But the flexibility allows you to take that same product from BirdDog and move it into that case, move it out into a flexible room, the next day or the next week.
That's right.
Put it somewhere else if you want to, put it up in a box, take it off site, do anything you want to with it like that too.
Yeah.
And I'll even raise you. Like, I think I'm also seeing a lot of energy in NDI around small environments too, especially in like house of worship where, you only have, 1 to 3 cameras, but just how simple it is to set up, just being able to have one cable and that it's simple enough that you can have, a random group of volunteers come in and be able to produce it for you is extremely valuable. And, it's cost effective. Yeah. It's the barrier to entry is so much lower than it has been from an education, from a dollar standpoint, and even usability, that just the access to be able to raise the level of your production is so much higher.
Yeah, it's funny because the software we use to record not every podcast, but most of them is called Ecamm Live. Shout out to Ecamm Live. Yep. And one thing that I was always a big fan, I introduced it to Hugo. He became a huge fan. And when we were discussing workflows, obviously you had mentioned, smaller workflows, HDMI, that was great. But because we have a variety of cameras and we have about 4 cameras, having 4 capture cards, even on a big Mac, doesn't always make sense. And that software does NDI workflows. Yep. So for us, that is a no-brainer. You know what I mean? So that even on the podcast side, we're starting to see a lot more NDI compatibility or acceptability, which I find very interesting.
And we have some BirdDog products that we put in the back of our cameras when we want to do NDI. Today we're doing HDMI, but when we do a podcast with someone remote, it makes much more sense to go software. Yeah. So we use Ecamm and we use NDI at that point in time.
There's so many different softwares now that are doing NDI. And I think that's part of like what drives it in the market between like vMix is OBS. Almost like a household name and OBS is huge. And like we're even trying to, we're working on a tool in the background to be able to integrate and make it even easier to use NDI there. So that's a little teaser for the future, but
on that, because I know Monty brought it up, saying that NDI was a little bit more troublesome or cumbersome 5 years ago. What was the barrier of
entry?
Yeah, like what was difficult? Was it because of a lack of a standard, you would say? Or?
I think that's a great way to put it. It's like NDI was building the airplane in the air, like with the community. Yeah. And so everyone was trying to figure out like, okay, how do we get this to work? And NDI was doing it their way as well. And I think we've gotten to a point where, like with NDI HX3, where it's so accessible, and they've written a standard in such a way where you know exactly what you need to do to make it work. You know, NDI gives like us, the manufacturer, like this is the spec that you need to hit to be able to have expected performance. You can go above and beyond that if you want to, but like this is the floor of how it needs to perform. And then as a consumer, you know, that gives confidence. And then it gives us confidence as a manufacturer, like, okay, if we integrate it with, you know, a different manufacturer, you know, it's going to work. And, you know, we don't have to stand on our own laurels to be able to like, no, our product works.
Yeah.
So the standards that work and they give confidence.
Because you opened the door, I know that's a question you like. Can you explain the difference between the 3 flavors of NDI?
Actually, what they are. For everybody who's new to NDI, what HX3 is and
HX2 and NDI full bandwidth.
Yeah. So there's NDI High Bandwidth, which is, you know, the flagship that they have, which is really high bandwidth. It's not that high bandwidth, but, you know, if we can talk a little technical. And so if you're working with like a 1080p 60 stream, you know, that's going to be average around 160 megabytes a stream. So it can get cumbersome pretty quickly on your network. And so NDI introduced their HX, their high efficiency, where it can lower that bandwidth. And at first it was HX2, which is using like H.264 or H.265 to be able to make that happen. And you can kind of build it like with your GOP settings, and you can adjust your bit rate and all of that to kind of build your stream. But for most end users, there really wasn't a way to, like, I just want it to work and like look good. And you really had to have more of a technical brain of like how to build your stream for like what your environment was. So they built NDI HX3, which is the same exact compression and math in the background happening as HX2, but they just defined like what you need to do to get the expected performance. So with HX3, you have to have a latency that's under 100 milliseconds. You have to fix your GOP or your group of pictures at 20. And then depending on what your resolution is, and depending on if you're using H.265 or H.264, they list out a constant bandwidth or a bit rate that they want you to configure it to. Okay. So, you know, if you're running 1080p 60 at H.264, your bit rate is 62. And so it's less than half of what it was with high bandwidth. Yeah. So it gives you a lot more flexibility.
Predictability.
Yeah. And like we've even found like on our own testing, when we like have tested our HX3 on our new cameras, our X series cameras, and compared it to like the high bandwidth on our P series cameras, we find that the X series cameras with HX3 actually have a lower latency. Even though there's less bandwidth, it's a more high efficiency, but you would think that it's, you know, more cumbersome, that it's going to take longer, that you're going to lose in image quality, but it's actually the opposite. You know, it's truly become more efficient.
Mm-hmm. And of course, the reliability side of that.
Yeah.
Just having things on the network of lower bandwidth means your networks are more reliable.
Yeah.
Little hiccups happen as often.
Yeah. True. Yeah. And that's what you were saying. It's more predictability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, one thing I think you were back to the previous topic, the barrier to entry 5-6 years ago might have been the networking chops. Yeah. Because back 5-6 years ago, people, I mean, there was network geeks, but the AV was at a team of AV people had one network guy, and he was basically the mastermind between all the designs. But now most of the AV people know a little bit more about networking, and the manufacturers like the Luxol of this world or the Netgear. I know you partner with Netgear a lot. Make it much more easy to design NDI specific VLANs or group of ports on a switch that makes it super easy. You know, you don't need to command line anymore in a switch to design a VLAN. So that makes it.
That's a huge aspect too. Like that goes underspoken, is like having like spending the little bit of time to like pick your switch and like to have intentional thought about like what you're putting on that and how it, fixes with the rest of your network, it really pays off dividends like later in ease of use and how much you want to beat your head against the wall when you're setting everything up.
Yep.
On that, Monty, are you having more conversations about camera specs or network specs with your integration customers, or is it both? I mean,
Very good question.
are people asking more about the specifications of the camera or the network?
At this point, it really is more about the specs of the camera itself.
Okay.
Like Christian was saying, with HX3, kind of taking away a little bit of that, surface cloud type thing that kind of wonders, well, is this going to work for me or not? Right? People back off and say, yeah, I'm going to make that work. That'll be fine. It really is more or less around, the specifications of the camera itself. And then just, the applications that the cameras fit into.
Yeah.
We recently back in November released the new XL Ultra and the new 04, the new outdoor camera. Those started shipping in December. And they're out there in the market now, they're available. Still kind of finishing up with some pre-order stuff and everything else, but the quantities from production are coming up very dramatically. And those cameras alone that's really our like go-to stuff at the moment. Sure, it's always great to talk about the newest things. That's the easiest thing to talk about. But those two cameras and the price points and the performance that we're getting out of those are bringing us into conversations where folks are actually implementing, these higher grade cameras into spots that they're like, okay, the price point alone, I can bring 3, 4, 5 of these cameras in instead of a competitor that is double the price.
Gotcha.
And all they were going to do is one.
Yeah.
It's been interesting over the last couple of years with kind of what we internally refer to as BirdDog 2.0, coming out with the new X series cameras, kind of reinventing ourselves over the last 2 years. The molds are ours. The specifications of what goes into the camera is ours. They don't look like something else in the market. Of course, a PTZ camera is going to look like a PTZ camera for the most part, right? Yeah. But you won't find another camera on the market that looks exactly like ours or with the same specs, all the way top to bottom with just someone else's name on it. Like they're our cameras, they're BirdDog cameras through and through. And we've done a lot of work at maintaining consistency among the lineup for certain features and certain aspects of them. True. Of course, there's going to be some differences between, the budget conscious X series, X1 series type stuff, all the way up to the X4s and X5s and XLs. Yeah, sure. But
very cool,
great stuff.
Yeah, you're right. These days, because I'm very active with those cameras, I bring them to customers and show them. And I had a conversation recently with a film producer that owns a small indie theater on Saint Laurent Street in Montreal, and he wanted cameras for his. When you do a premiere and the director is there and they're asking questions, people in the audience ask questions, but also he streams. Actually, he wants to stream. So I brought him an X4 and an X5. And this guy's a camera guy. He live and die by optics. And I explained him the camera. I had a conversation and I prepped my speech because I pulled out all the specs because I knew he would ask me about those questions about the optics. And you know what? I don't even remember, but the field of view.
Yeah.
So this guy knows what I'm talking about, and he really liked them. I did let it there for 2 weeks, both cameras, and I think he's going to pick on X5. But he was very amazed by the quality. So
awesome.
You guys are designing great products. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think we in other podcasts when we were with Franco, we're discussing a lot of. AV trends. I think it was on the podcast we were talking about AV trends for 2026, and even him on the lighting side, because Franco is more on the Pro AV side.
Yeah.
But even on the lighting side, they're starting to see e-ink displays.
Yeah.
And we had mentioned that BirdDog had e-ink displays, and just that is such a huge thing for anything IP, because that's the number one thing. Hugo has a lot of demo gear, and it's funny because he's got to label everything with the IP address because everybody messes up, or he sets it up and then everybody has to reset it, and then it just messes everything up. So having the e-ink display is just one thing that I really appreciate from the BirdDog's, that when we've done tests, it's right then and there, and very cool stuff.
It's built up of our own pains.
That's it. There's nothing worse than receiving a demo camera back from a customer who did put a fixed IP on it. And now you have to go through different pieces of software to find the IP address and change it to the HTTP. And now with this, it's just, okay, that's the IP address.
Yeah.
You were about to say something.
Yeah, I was going to say, we had kind of an evolution or a progression through that process too, right? Some of our previous products had like the P110s and 120s and the 240s had the little screen, the
little LED
screen on it.
Yeah.
That told you, but you had to power it up to get there, right?
That's right.
With the e-ink, at least it's not pulling any power, and it's just there on the side of the camera, and it's right there for you. And as of recent, we've also introduced the ability to customize the e-ink. So you can put your own company name, your logo, whatever you kind of want on the side of it. You could update your own QR code. Someone could scan with their phone and take you back to like a service request or something of that nature, right? Like it's there as it says BirdDog to begin with, but as an integrator, if you wish to upgrade that and kind of give your installation a personal flair, it's there for you too.
That's very cool.
Choose your own adventure.
Yeah.
There you go.
And talking about BirdDog, because you guys have such an iconic logo. Who came up with that logo and name, and what does it represent exactly? Because that's super cool, by the way. I don't wear my sweatshirt today, but I have it there for later. I love the logo. Everybody in the company
logo. The branding, branding is like top-notch.
I'm not kidding. Everybody here in this building loves your branding. If you guys send T-shirts and swag, they go very fast. So
and keep in mind, like I said, I've been here for 4 years. Company, we just actually celebrated our 10-year anniversary. NAB was our 10th NAB to be displaying at and showcasing at and everything else. Whenever BirdDog first came around, our founders originally ran a distribution company out of Australia, and they distributed the new tech stuff at that point, heard about NDI coming and everything else, and said, okay, this sounds like a great technology to be able to share, video and control and everything else through the network. But how are we getting other things into that? How are we getting a camera stream or a video stream into that network and so forth? And the first thing they developed was the BirdDog Studio converter, right? Which allowed SDI or HDMI to be converted to NDI or decoded the other way around. And the idea then kind of came about as far as like, it was your best companion. It was, this little box was your best companion, right? And it's like, oh, that's like your BirdDog. Right. So the idea of BirdDog just came from, that's your companion. Yeah. That's the thing you lean on to get you through the day, And there's
the whole like technical aspect of like the send and receive.
There you go too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
We've named it. So it's Bindi, the little bird, it's, shorthand for bidirectional NDI is kind of the
that's
shorthand
cool.
for it.
That's very cool.
Directional, and that's pretty cool. Okay,
that is.
And dog, because it's the best friend of the human.
You're going hunting with your dog. You take a duck out of the sky and you send out the dog, and
there you go.
Retrieves the duck and brings it back to you.
Yeah,
pretty cool.
That is very cool.
It was just in the actual logo itself was just kind of a melding of those two. The thing. It just couldn't just be a dog. So it's like, it's a bird dog. Well, this should be a bird and a dog.
Well, thanks for the explanation, and maybe for the benefit of our listener, you mentioned the word new tech just before. They were distributing in new tech. So new tech is actually the founder, the inventor of NDI, if I'm not mistaken. And so they invented the format about 12 years ago. So I just wanted to say that now they're part of Vizarte.
Yes.
Yep.
Very cool.
Yep. And now NDI is a completely separate company.
Yep.
On its own too. So
still owned by Vizarte.
Yeah, they're under the umbrella.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And is it, I mean, I suspect you can answer that question, but a little bit like Dante, do you guys need to give money to SRT every time you put NDI in a camera? Just
Licensing?
like
there's licensing with all the cameras.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's been another big part of like the evolution of NDI and the accessibility of it. Is like we were one of the first ones to like not charge a license to the user, but that's what a lot of the market did for a while. Is you had to pay for licenses, and we've seen like rallying of other manufacturers to just kind of bake it in, and it becomes a lot more accessible to consumers and even to integrators for quoting. That you don't have. You're like, well, we also have to, buy this license fee.
some of your
Activate it once you're on site.
Yeah.
And you're not necessarily on a network that's, friendly to you and everything else.
Yeah.
You're trying to figure out how to activate a license. Just bake it in.
Yeah.
And we've been baking it in for 10 years.
some of your competitors are still charging for the license in 2026. So that's
One thing I really appreciate about your cameras, and I think you guys mentioned it before, is the fact that it's flexible. So you can still, some cameras you can still do SDI. Most of them do HDMI, and obviously the network side of it with NDI. But for anybody who's right on the edge of getting into NDI, saving them a little bit of anything it could be, what would be one thing that you tell somebody getting into NDI that you're still seeing first timers
Buy a managed switch.
Yeah. So we're still seeing that
all the time,
Really?
every day. Yep.
Interesting. So managed switch. So
100%.
So do you think it's a question more of an education more than more than just hardware? I guess education will follow into the hardware
so
side.
it's an education because it's almost like a prerequisite, to be able to use really, in my opinion, like any video over IP, because when you start using just the unmanaged switches or even smart switches for that matter, there's just so much like packet loss that starts to happen when you're dealing with, hundreds of megabytes of video data that you don't want to, you start introducing frame drops and skips, and then all of a sudden they're like, well, the source was here a minute ago and now it's gone. Like, what's going on? And I'm like, well, let's have a managed switch that's designed to kind of route that kind of traffic, and we can eliminate a lot of that stuff immediately.
Yeah.
Or else it's your fault. And I think that's where AV over IP gets a lot of bad rap. Is a lot of people typically get maybe a bad taste in their mouth because of the product, and it's not the product. It's the infrastructure that's not built correctly.
Yeah. It's the foundation of your house.
Yeah.
And part of that, managed switch conversation as well goes back to PoE. At the same time, right there, PoE has came up leaps and bounds in the last decade as well. Mm-hmm. And while there are switches out there that might have, mediocre levels of PoE power, there's others nowadays that have, PoE plus on dozens of ports at a time. So actually understanding what the component's going to pull, how many of them you're going to have, and looking at that whole PoE budget and really kind of doing a little bit of math to understand what you're doing and be able to make sure things are powered right.
Yeah. And how your managed switch deals with that PoE power, because different manufacturers handle that power differently. You have Cisco switches that get really smart, and they're like, oh, you average 13 watts of power, so we're only going to give you 13 watts of power. And then you can sometimes get into a really tricky situation where you go to move the camera and then it'll kill power because it's requesting more than the switch expects. Mm-hmm. And then you just got to change some power profiles and things like that. But there's other switches that we find a lot with Luxel switches and Netgear switches. They don't try to get smarter than you with the power, and they're just going to send out what the camera's asking for because it's variable. Especially with the PTZ is it might average around 13 watts, but if you want to do a pan shot, it's going to spike up to 18 or 19. It's a big difference.
Yeah, if you're activating all three motors in it at one time doing a movement, it's going to pull more current.
Yeah. And that's why we have maximum power values.
Right.
We had a whole podcast just on that.
But something we forget about your products and in general PTZ and NDI cameras is a single wire that drives the control, the actual image, and the power. That's a huge.
And even audio going back to the
audio
if we decide to have audio
signal,
right?
So that's a huge time saver for any AV integrator. I mean, one camera, one cable.
Yeah. And you look at the X1 family or the X5 that also have the built-in decoder.
True.
That's a return feed of NDI that we're then decoding at the camera and then can output over HDMI to a local monitor. Or
confidence monitor.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For teleprompter or stuff like that. Yeah.
So that's a lot of stuff happening over that one cable.
Exactly.
And once again, we're not asking people to, most hands-on people can terminate a Cat 6 cable on their own nowadays, right?
Yeah.
But HDMI or SDI and stuff like that, you don't terminate those in the field for the most part.
Molded cables.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
You've got to buy the right length, and it's just kind of that one-time shot versus rolling out a reel.
Talking about HDMI, you guys are still not completely close to HDMI because recently, and now we're going to dive a little bit in the weeds of the technical stuff. But recently, you released a firmware that makes your camera compatible with the Blackmagic HDMI workflow with the Atoms, right? So, if I'm not mistaken, the Atom can turn on the tally light on your camera or something like that.
Yeah, that's nearly exactly there. So. You're still doing HDMI, but inherently there's still a network connection. You still have, the camera is still on the same network as the ATEM is. And then in the web interface of the camera, you just put in the IP address of your ATEM, and then you assign the ME number that you have, and then the input number, and then tally works.
Okay.
You have your green preview and you have your red program.
Nice.
It works.
And then it works
all in the background using Visca and the fun magic stuff that gets to happen.
Pretty cool. I thought it was a handshake within the HDMI stream, so it's a network. Yep. Basically, it's your camera talking to the API or the Blackmagic. Oh, that's 100%. Pretty cool.
Wow, that is very cool. I did not know that.
Yeah,
the network cable is still there because you're going to need some type of control.
True.
Right? So even with an HDMI catching the video output, you still have the control side of it. So
nice.
Are you seeing a lot of adoption into the broadcast film stuff with NDI, or we're not there yet?
To me, I mean, the film world is just a little different.
Yeah.
Right. The broadcast side, especially in whether it's television station or higher end YouTube type applications and so forth, things especially with the new XL Ultra, that camera with a 4/3 sensor in it. It's got an amazing cinema, like a cinema depth of field to it that just really looks great. And at the price point, now we've got users out there able to put in, like I said, they can put in that camera in, either as their main cameras if they wish to, and one person sitting at a table somewhere else can do switching between multiple cameras, can PTZ around, whatever it looks like. And you're not worried about paying camera operators to do it. You're just got the one person sitting at the table with the KBD controller.
Yeah. Replacing your studio camera that costs $20,000 with a camera that's $7,000 is a lot more digestible for a lot of environments.
Absolutely.
Or even just your startup cost.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And we've also introduced in the XL Ultra, once you get into the web user interface, the Bird UI, there is a function in there to kind of do a preliminary color match with the XL to a Panasonic, a Sony, or a Blackmagic studio cam. So it gives you that starting point to be able to, okay, we're going to get you 90% there. Yeah. And then you can kind of tweak it from there because we've got a full color matrix. And you can tweak it to match your other cameras. So if you've got those expensive studio cams as your primary shots, but you want some PTZs on nice tripods sitting out of the way or whatever else it was for the auxiliary shot, we can make it look exactly like your other cameras in your system.
Yeah. That must feel much better for anybody who wants to get
one of the biggest trends that we're seeing is LED walls.
Yes.
I mean, everyone wants to be in front of an LED wall. And that's one of the flexes that XL camera has that Monty's talking about, is being able to have an optical low pass filter just integrated into the camera. So you don't have to add additional hardware.
What does that mean?
So the optical low pass filter, it eliminates that moire effect that you get when you're shooting at an LED wall. So you don't have like the weird lines. It just looks like what your eyes see.
Gotcha.
So you don't have to fix anything in post.
Gotcha. So I'm assuming that would be the better camera to have when you're doing, let's say, a concert and you're doing the
iMag.
Yeah.
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 100%. Or you're in a newsroom, you're even shooting in front of a green screen.
Yeah.
We've gotten to do a lot of really cool, like Monty did one down in Dallas where we took the camera to an Epson showroom and just set up a demo where we're shooting at an Epson wall, and then you have like new blue graphics coming in that are going up on the screen and being able to pull out. So it's a really cool, like full like IP workflow that you can do from screen to camera to graphics. That's a really exciting like workflow.
Yeah.
What they call virtual production.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. And we're seeing more and more, that where of course that still has a place in the broadcast environment, right? For anything from the sports scores to the weather forecaster to everything else behind, for the up on screen behind them.
Yeah.
But we're seeing it more and more in the corporate broadcast type space, right? The C-level executives talking about, doing an investor meeting, doing their quarterly earning meetings, right? Trainers training teams on doing whatever they're doing, right? Whether that's how to use a CRM or how to present new products or whatever it might be. I think that the world, we've been seeing like high-end product releases from Apple, for example, like millions of people tune in for the next Apple release.
Yeah.
We've been looking at TED Talks for 20 years.
Yeah.
Right. And everyone wants that level of production feel for more and more, right?
Yeah.
We see it in House of Worship. We see it in education. We see it. So that kind of stuff. And like I said, with the XL, you bring that technology in to make a remotely operable camera, easy to set up, put it anywhere in the room you kind of want to, and get a great shot out of it.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Talking about remote, there is a solution from BirdDog, which I love. And I think it's a little bit, it's not popular enough for the power of that solution.
I agree.
Connect. Can you talk a little bit about Connect and maybe talk about the roadmap of Connect? Because I think there's stuff that will be coming to your cameras that has been announced. So I'm not sure. We're not under NDA, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe you can talk a little bit, explain what is Connect. In my opinion, that's amazing solution.
Yeah. So Connect is a software. It's essentially like cloud production that we can do, anywhere in the world. So if we're here in Montreal, we could put one of our cameras into Connect, and then, back at Monty's house in New Mexico, we could set up another one and we could produce that all back in Melbourne, Australia, if we wanted to, and be able to operate those cameras like we were in the room with them and merge them together and route sources across the world. But what's really cool with, on the camera side is we're introducing an update where the cameras themselves can be an endpoint. So that way you don't have to have a computer on both ends of that handshake, but that the camera can be one on its own, which makes it a lot easier to deploy. So if you're doing remote productions, you can have all of your cameras, you set them all up, you configure them, and then you can just send a camera out to talent. They just plug it into a switch that's also in, the fly pack that you sent them. They plug it in to internet. You already have the feed. You can color match and everything from your house, and you're live.
Yeah.
That is very cool.
This is pretty cool. And just to elaborate a little bit more, is to this date, you'd still need a server running on your network. The server could be a Mac or a PC. Obviously, the more powerful the server, the more streams you can encode. Mm-hmm. But to this point, you needed a computer running on the network that was encoding the camera feeds.
Yeah.
Or actually any NDI feed. This is not a BirdDog specific solution, right?
Yep.
But you will be coming up with a firmware that will basically bake those features directly in the cameras.
100%. Yeah.
Okay. Any ETA on this firmware?
Imminently.
Okay, good. Something that amazed me about that is you can have, I think I've seen a an app for Apple TV, right? Mm-hmm. So you can remotely control cameras, PTZ cameras, from your Apple TV in your living room. With the remote, you can control PTZ cameras that are somewhere else.
Or even if you don't want to use, your Apple TV, you can just have the phone on your iPhone.
True.
And you can do it all from the Connect app on your phone.
Yeah, or the BirdDog Play.
Yep.
Probably the Play Pro 2.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
So you're saying that a large company who's got multiple podcast shows at different locations can send out just a bunch of BirdDog cameras. I'm just saying, when the firmware goes, bunch of podcast cameras, that's it. Plug them into the switch, and then you can have a remote producer produce the shows.
Yep.
That's amazing.
You can route everything. So it has a full matrix grid.
Yeah.
And then there's also some hidden gems that are in there. So in the matrix grid, you can actually create QR codes for different routes. So if you have a regular route where if you want to decode a particular camera stream to a play, to be able to output onto a TV, you can print off a little QR code and then you can just tape it on the desk and just be do this when, and you can just have somebody scan it with their phone and it'll trigger the action with just a scan. So you can kind of eliminate a lot of training and stuff and just be this QR code does X, this QR code does Y.
This one I didn't know. Yeah. Pretty cool.
That is very cool.
And what's and again, I'm completely amazed because those feeds, when you and there's different, there are different options to encode, but some of them, if you encode the cameras remote and you have your server here in Dorval and the cameras are in Chicago, is that in Detroit? The cameras are in Detroit. I'm in Montreal. I'm the producer. The NDI feeds are going to show up on my network, just like they're local.
So there's no VPN. It's I guess I don't know how you guys are routing that, but I don't know if it's
point to point, right? Yeah.
Wow.
So and am I wrong if I say that nothing goes to cloud? It's really point to point. Yep.
Wow.
And what's cool is we've kind of engineered our own flavor of SRT for it. So it all happens SRT, so it's all secure. But we've also baked in all of the really cool metadata from NDI along the way. So you can still get, NDI, tally, all of your video data and everything. So any of the controls that you can do via NDI on our camera, through the web interface, you can do through Connect.
Yeah.
So it's fully you have everything with that camera except for physically touching it.
Yeah. Anybody who's got a big company with a lot of different podcasts, and anybody who wants to start a podcast, that is especially with a remote producer, it's just take care of the angles, the lighting, and then we'll take care of the rest. There's it just clutter-free production. Right. That is
just
incredible.
One visit, you put the cameras, you find the angles.
Yeah. Because you can build all your multi-views and everything in it too. So if you want to do picture-in-picture, you can do that. And then you can create an output broadcast stream out.
Wow.
And you can be granular with the encoding you're doing. So depending on your bandwidth, you can say, okay, I want 20 megabytes, or you could be.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yep. So you can even manage the bandwidth per camera.
Yes.
And if you're not going live, you can also record it as well.
Very cool.
And
it's a huge, there's so many things that it can do. So it's really easy to say whatever you want to do, it can do, but it's basically it.
Yeah.
On that, I mean, there's, especially on the integrations. Oh, I shouldn't say that. Even on the Pro AV side, that's where it started. On the audio side, Dante. And now Dante is doing a lot of video too. NDI, Dante not being best friends, not being crazy compatible. Is that still an outdated statement, or
I think a little bit, yeah. We're doing we have Dante AVH coming to most of our PTZ cameras.
Oh yeah.
And so it's still in its emergent phase. I think the Dante, at least the AVH end of it. But as far as Dante audio and NDI, most of the workflows I see are done through Netgear switches, but they play phenomenally, on the same thing. And that's back to giving a pat on the back to the the networking side of the business and the work that they've done to like merge all of that is, for the most part, like I really don't see that many issues when merging like Dante and NDI.
Yeah, when
it almost becomes more troublesome when it's over engineered. It's like, oh, I have a Dante VLAN over here and I have my NDI VLAN over here. And then, you know, we produce everything out of a third one. I'm like, why did we make it so hard?
That's true. There are profiles in the Netgear with NDI 5 and Dante, or NDI 6 and Dante, or NDI 6 and AV over IP.
Yep.
So they play.
And I think the Luxo switches are the same way, if I remember.
Yep.
That's very cool.
Yep. Is it already time for some rapid fire questions?
Yeah,
maybe?
let's do a little bit of. You wanna kick it off with the rapid fire questions?
Oh boy.
Yeah. It's whoever wants to answer first, or it'd be nice to hear both your answers. So
I'll take the first one.
Yeah, go for it.
And those are basically one-word answers or fast answers.
Okay.
SDI or NDI?
NDI.
You?
Depends.
Oh,
Oh boy, I like that.
I like that.
Okay, you have to elaborate now.
Well, it depends. So like if you're just doing, you know, pop-up productions and like you have to bring everything with you and it's all going on a table right in the back, and you have your 3 cameras all on your little 6-foot table, why bring a switch? You're not streaming it out that day. It's all just happening local. It's one less thing to put in your bag. It's $600 or $1,000 that you can save on your production, and it's great. But you know, if you start getting into permanent installs or you're streaming your production out live, it's NDI works great.
Yeah.
So it really depends. Like I don't think NDI is like killing off, you know, SDI. I think there's still a place for it. Absolutely.
Very cool.
Oh, thanks for the honest answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Most overrated AV buzzword right now.
Broadcast AV. Right. Like for me, I see that used by every manufacturer some way just because it's a buzzword. Right. And at the end of the day, yes, we have this melding of broadcast style installations, happenings, dedicated rooms, stuff like that coming into the spaces and so forth. It's, you know, an AV integrator at this point is audio and video and lighting at the end of the day. Like we've been doing all of it for a long time.
Yes.
And then we tried to like separate things out. And now we're trying to meld it all back together into a smaller form factor again. It's like, it's just keep going.
Yeah.
We're fine.
I think you kind of nailed it on that one.
Yeah, thanks.
One BirdDog product every integrator should try. Every integrator should try. Sorry.
I'm steal your thunder.
There's only one for now.
Play Pro.
Bingo. That was my thought too.
Good answer. Your latest and greatest product. It sits on the table right there.
NDIKVM.
Very cool.
Yeah. Yeah. With the KVM functionality in Play Pro, we've got a good industry friend of ours that has worked for iHeartMedia and Radio DNA and others of that nature for a long time, and he's a staunch supporter of our PTZ cameras and stuff. And the previous Play product he loved for the applications where it worked well. Play Pro came out with the KVM over NDI side of things. He went, hold on, because in a podcast studio, in a radio studio, the room's got to be silent. You know, that fan running over there is driving me crazy, by the way. But like, right, like for him, he needs to put that stuff in the room next door.
Yeah.
And he can do it through, and he's like, and it works phenomenally well.
Wow. And
a Play Pro, you know, even with a little bit of a price increase recently due to memory and stuff like that, but $350, he's like, it's a killer.
Yeah. It's an
It's a killer. Yeah.
Biggest NDI mistake. I was going to say in 3 words or less, but
Might need more than 3.
yeah.
3 words or less. I think it's 4. Not buying managed switch.
I was just waiting.
Yeah.
There's two words because it could have been unmanaged switch.
Unmanaged switch. Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
All right.
Quick prediction. What disappears first? Traditional matrix switching or standalone SDI workflows?
What was the first part?
Traditional matrix switching, like the big SDIs.
Like what's changing about it?
Which one disappears first? In your opinion?
I want traditional to disappear, but it's such like a big boat that I think it'll stay around for a long time.
Yeah.
Because like I look at like big productions, I see all of the cables and it drives me nuts. And there's a better way. What do you think?
The thing is that they both still have a reason to exist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? There are lots of applications out there. You know, the old adage of the show must go on, is absolutely true. And you know, the situations where the look and feel and experience of having something that's been done the same way for the last 20 plus years, and people know it, people understand it. It's fail proof in a lot of ways, so it's still going to be around for a while. I think that the IP world in particular is becoming smarter and smarter and more reliable, and it'll eventually get there. Like I think about whenever I go to a concert, and you think about the roadies that have to break everything down and move it and put it all back together. And it's going to be, eventually it'll be a world where, just nothing but fiber runs from the back to the front.
Fiber run.
Run, whatever it might be.
Then you have a 128 channel like Dante mix,
right,
and then you have 3 dongles that you unplug, and it all goes in your backpack.
Right.
And,
or wireless, whatever it might be. It'll eventually get there.
Maybe a little twist on what you said. Do you feel that eventually, maybe, yes, those two workflows like the baseband / SDI and the NDI or an IP protocol will live side by side together, but eventually maybe the SDI workflow will be the backup and the main one will be the IP. So, when critical, when you need dual recording or, high availability, maybe.
We see that now even. Yeah.
Yeah. So you already see some workflows where they plug the SDI spigot, but just as a backup.
Yep.
Huh.
Like they prefer it, or even to go as far as like wireless NDI, like being the preferred, and setting that up as like your preferred NIC, and then having a wired option or an SDI option also as a backup.
Oh, okay. Cool. I mean, I thought we were ending the podcast, but you opened the door, because one of the questions I wanted to ask was about Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
And I'll be totally honest, my experience with Wi-Fi, maybe I have bad Wi-Fi, but is not reliable for production. And I didn't want to touch that on the podcast, but while you open the door,
of course.
I know that some of your cameras have Wi-Fi, including the X4 Ultra and the X1. Yeah. In Canada, we don't see any Wi-Fi adoption for production. Do you see Wi-Fi, and do you find it enough reliable?
When you build it to suit, so like when you have a really good Wi-Fi router and you isolate it away from, other traffic, it works well. But when you're using it on the same network as regular internet traffic or like your cell phone, it's not as great. If you're running it on like a consumer grade Wi-Fi router, it's not as great. When we start really running it on, Pro AV,
Enterprise
access point routers, they're great. And it works the same as wireless or as a wired does, but it has the same fallbacks that Wi-Fi does in general. Like the further you get away from, your access point, the slower and the more inconsistent your performance is going to be. The more stuff you add onto it, the more stress it's going to be. The more Wi-Fi networks in general that are in the area are going to be there. So it's about being aware of your environment. So if you're, in a conference hall that has its own guest Wi-Fi. It has its own private Wi-Fi, and somebody's throwing up hotspots in the audience, and just use a Wi-Fi channel, scan the Wi-Fis and see what channels they're running over, and then don't run on the same one.
Yeah.
So a little bit like when you pre-prod a wireless microphone venue, you can pre-prod your Wi-Fi, find the right channel, use Wi-Fi 6 or 7 if you can, and have a dedicated mesh network with multiple access points. And
you just got to look at your channels and your channel widths. And
100%.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think just because we've all been so used to Wi-Fi, just like kind of generally working for us as, regular every day. And I think we kind of take it for granted when it comes to like the production of it and be like, oh, I'll just use what's here because it's Wi-Fi. I'm like, well, not all Wi-Fi is created.
I don't agree. I don't agree with that, but I agree with what you said, but I don't take it for granted at all. Yeah. I have a prosumer system at home, and I'm constant. And we had this talk as well on the podcast where it's like everybody's complaining about their Wi-Fi at home, and I feel like everybody's going out and getting the biggest monster router they can. They get home and that's just
default.
But that's just making every other household worse, right? So everybody's competing. They're just flooding the entire network.
Yeah. They don't even scan. They just
exactly
in the box.
And in my system, people tend to be like, I can put the power on super high, and people normally would say, I want to, and actually I'm putting mine on low power.
Same
so
here.
that's, so you're on.
It's almost like listening to music, though, right? I mean, do you want to listen to something at 130 dB with massive clipping, or do you want to dial it back a little bit and listen to it, at 90, just super
or 80?
Right? Maybe I'm a little older.
He's the sweet spot, but it's fun that you're in decibels from a video guy, so I'm happy.
That's super interesting.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that door about Wi-Fi, because unless somebody proves me wrong, and we'll have conversation throughout the week, I'm still a very, very wire person. Like I'm big into IP, but I tend to not recommend Wi-Fi for any type of workflows. Because, and just maybe a last question: what's if your wireless network's configured properly, like dedicated Wi-Fi? 3-4 cameras maximum, nothing else. Like if you're in an ideal situation, is the latency comparable?
Yes.
Oh yeah. Okay. Because one of my big thing was the latency. But again, I just like anybody, I did bring an AP at home, but I didn't do so much research. But you are scratching.
I've seen it in our office. We have a Netgear Pro access point, and just running on one, I had like our X4 Ultra, and I ran it on battery, and I had it connected to the Wi-Fi, and I just carried it around with me through the office, and I had the rest of the team watch it live, and they're like, it's clean, and it didn't drop at all. And I went through the building until we got to the edge of the frame, and then it dropped off, after we got out of range. But I bring the camera back into range, and it rediscovers it, and it picks right back up where it's at.
Okay.
Interesting.
Thanks.
Yeah. Just instead of the handshake happening, over a cable, it's invisible.
Yeah. That's very cool. That's very cool. Gentlemen, thank you so much for stopping by. And it's great that you guys managed to come into the studio. We've been starting to do more remote podcasts with guests, but anytime we can have any of you in the studio is always a pleasure. And we had a lot more questions, but we'll have to save it for another time. And we'd love to have you guys on again at a later time. If you guys are always welcome. So
we would love to. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll be your love. I'll be your sunshine. I'll be your love. I'll be your sunshine.